Hi, welcome back. So now we're going to dive into session 2 for creating your shared relationship vision, AKA your marriage map. Thanks for being here. Let's do this. Session 2, merging maps and getting complete. So let's dive in. All right, today we are going to look at, again, I like to repeat for a reason, repetition is not accidental. So we'll keep coming back to these 5 core agenda items here. Some will be much briefer than the last session because we're just touching base as a little reminder. So we've got your course on-ramps today with checking in about the outcomes, the process overview, and the series steps review. I just want to remind you quickly about your course homepage and your masterclass video, the Facebook group, and some other resources that you have. And then look at some of those healthy habits, just a little reminder, a little second round of encouragement, and there'll be a third round of encouragement to have you look at what some of these habits are and how you can use and adapt them and bring them into your own life, into your own relationship day to day, or big times, little times. Your relationship habits will absolutely determine your relationship happiness. The core of today is looking at the steps content, steps 3 and 4, merging your maps and getting complete. And then we'll finish off with the reviewing of next steps because we always like to put it in the context of an action option. Your action option mission, should you choose to accept it. Dun, 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 dun. All right, that's my Mission Impossible impression. Not the greatest, but hopefully you get my intent is to bring some fun and excitement and enjoyment and pleasure to improving your relationship. Stop trying to fix things. You start leaning into having fun in your relationship, and you can have even working on your relationship be fun. All right, so some of these course on-ramps. In the last session, we created and reviewed a couple of outcomes. You should have created your own personal outcomes. And we reviewed these 4 that I've created and that I'm committed to. But of course, personalizing this is what makes the big difference. So if you created outcomes in the last session, great. Pull them out. Let's look at them now. What do you hope to get out of this? What do you want the experience to be at the end? What's the result going to be? And also, let's look at these 4 that we created. Inspired alignment around a clear vision for what your relationship is about and who you both want to be in it. That's my commitment, that you both are aligned and clear. At the end, we want to make sure you don't just have this lofty, great vision, but that you're actually covering 3 areas of life specifically and not just spread thin. So we'll pick 3 areas of life. You can pick less. But we'll pick 3 areas of life and help you create some goals in those specific areas. The fun part, one of my favorite parts, I guess there's a lot of fun parts, but one of my favorite parts is to create the mantra, to take this big vision and to synthesize it and condense it until it gets to an inspiring, memorable, even memorized. I've got some clients that they just created their vision 3 weeks ago and they've already memorized it and they're saying it daily. Like, yes, so awesome. It's this anchor. It is this touchstone, this place to come back to again and again of who do you say you are? What is your couple culture? Are you just letting it happen willy-nilly? Most people end up defaulting to being cranky and resentful, and over time, they end up at best as roommates. So don't let that happen to you. Let's not just, that's why we call it for better love. It's not for better, for worse. It's for better. We want it to get better and better and better. Just remember, when you're pursuing things being better, it's not about perfect and it's not about blame. It's about ownership, autonomy, and progress, right? Bit by bit. Progress, not perfect. So we'll take that big vision and condense it. And of course, you can do this on your own through this course, or there's some support if you want to get some additional, to have me do the wordsmithing for you. I love, love, love doing that. Take what each of you say and bring it together and take your big vision and condense it into a shorter one that you can memorize. It's more manageable, memorable, and even meaningful. Sometimes a long piece cannot be as weighty. It can really land more directly if it's shorter, especially if you're going to memorize it and want to share it with people and use it to anchor yourselves and come back to connection when you're in conflict. Finally, the last and in many ways most important part is making a declaration. What is your path? So at the end of these 4 sessions, I'm going to ask you, how are you going to take this vision and make it more of a reality? So those are the 4 outcomes that I'm looking for. What about you? What are your outcomes? So pause this right now if you didn't write some. And if you did write some, great. Still pause this and take a look and see what can you do in this session that will lead to the success of at least getting closer to the outcome that you're seeking, right? We got a couple more sessions to actually achieve that. All right, resource reminder. I love providing resources. And if there's something that you need, something that you're craving, please reach out to me. Let me know. I'd love to hear from you and how it's going. This is a mission of a passion, I should say. My husband and I almost left our relationship before we really got started. And it was just when the transformation was getting good. And now we're 15 years into our relationship, 13 years into our marriage, and it's just getting better and better and better. And that's why I do what I do. And that's why I try to take all of my high end programs and break it down into smaller pieces so they're accessible to a much wider audience and the way and the format that works for you, such as this course. Okay, so let's look at some of these resource reminders. Your playbook, grab it now. Hopefully, you have your playbook. We'll be walking you through this step by step. We used to just have a simple blog that was just 4 or 5 paragraphs to walk you through this. And now we have a whole fun and colorful playbook that you can either download or print or not, because it always comes from choice, but you can just watch the video and see what comes up. But I highly recommend leaning in to getting the most out of it by personalizing it. So grab your playbook right now if you don't already have it. Your course homepage, this is where everything, all the goods are. You know what, there's a one of the resources in a moment I'm going to talk about is a meditation. And I've recorded myself doing that meditation and put it on your page. There's a couple, I think. One is the gratitude grounding, and the other is the inner magic joy cycle. One's 5 minutes and one's 10 minutes, but 5 to 10 minute practices you can do if you're in the middle of a conflict and you want to have a reset, or if you're just about to have an important meeting. Maybe you're going to talk about a big decision, a big choice. Maybe you're talking about money or travel or something that's been difficult for you in the past. These are some great things to do before those meditations. So there's all sorts of resources on that page for you. Check it out. The masterclass video, we're diving into the course now, so you're going to get the masterclass plus some. But if you want to jump to the end and just get to the gist of it, you've always got that brief video as well. I think it's like 45 minutes. And I invite you again, come to the Facebook group. Community is so important. So many times I hear a couple say, I don't know any other couples that I'm inspired by. Most of the couples I see, they're cranky and they snip at each other. You ever been at a dinner party or a dinner table at a restaurant with others and a couple is kind of snipping at each other? It just makes it awkward and uncomfortable from everyone, right? So cultivate relationships with people that are leaning into loving better, for people that want to aim for awesome and not just avoid divorce. Avoiding divorce is a great thing, not at all costs, right? You want to do what's healthy, but we're really looking at how do we not just survive in our relationships here, but how do we thrive? And one way we thrive is community. All right, so these resources are for this week, your prompts for this week. I don't want you to work hard. I want you to work smart. So pick your prompts, put things in place where they're visible, save these images to your phone, put them on your screensaver of your computer, print them and put them on your refrigerator. Again, don't work hard, work smart, and just keep these conversations alive. Keep thinking about them. Keep having these reminders in place so that you'll see them. And even if it's 5 minutes here or 5 minutes there, you'll get to think about these things and let them percolate and grow over time naturally and organically rather than having to work so hard. All right, your healthy habits. This is where those meditations that I was talking about, right? The gratitude grounding is that first meditation and it's on your page. We also, and that's only 5 minutes, and we also have the 10-minute meditation for the inner magic joy cycle. Now, this personal check-in, I recommend you do this at the start of every important meeting. My husband and I do this at the start of a meal. And whenever we've been apart for the workday and we come in to sit down for dinner, I might be excited and be like, hey, blah, blah, blah. And he may have had a tough day or vice versa. So it's really great just to know and just kind of get the temperature check, test the wind, and see what page your beloved is on. Okay, so this can be a helpful tool. Another reminder for that. Make sure you're on the same page before you get started. Okay, we're doing session 2 and it's 2 steps. Are we going to actually do the exercises? Are we just going to talk about them? So have a little conversation and get clear before you start either a session like this or before you have a meeting. In the season of peace, next season, I'm going to be introducing a whole series on marriage meetings and how to enjoy more of your life by handling the functional in ways so that it doesn't rob you from the flirty. So these meetings are great, whether it's money meetings, travel meetings, or a combination of all of them, meetings to set your goals. It's great to have an agenda. And it's okay if you don't get to all the agenda items. Just know that make a note at the bottom of the last meeting for what you left off on and what you want to start with the next time, right? Scoring what worked and how it could be even better if. This is how you get better. I do this at the end of every coaching session, and it just invites feedback from your beloved or feed forward. Okay, we just did this session. That was great. I loved it, but I'd make it like an 8.5. What worked is that we did it. And what would work even better if next time you said, hey, let's do the session to me, or if we had it scheduled to do it weekly. I'd love that. Would that work for you? So again, notice there's no make wrong, but there's what works and there's even better if. All right, so now to the goods. Now to the goods. Let's focus on your maps and getting complete. Now, these 2 steps are seemingly simple here, but they can get messy. So be intentional and let's take a look at how to do this in the best way, the most pleasurable way, the most powerful way, and impactful way possible. All right, the process, we have these 8 steps we've already gone through, and you have on your own described your ideal relationship. Let yourself want away and just want freely. And then you came together and shared your individual visions. If you haven't done that part of the process yet, pause here and go back and do those 2 pieces. Now, if you had any difficulty in sharing your individual visions, if it got into the space of fixing or a list of demands or anything like that, then it's okay. You're human. It does happen, but that's not the intention. We want you to be sharing from a empowered and inspired place of, oh, I'd love it if we had this, and this would be so great. And this is my fantasy. It's not even that you're going to get all of those things. It's not a list of demands. So if you had any problem with sharing your visions and the listening, you may want to reach out and see if a coaching session is for you. I know there is an expense to that, but reach out and see what's possible because we have a lot of different options from our higher cost, we call the full limo ride, all the way down to do it yourself. Today, merging your maps and getting complete. Next, we'll look at measuring your motivation, picking your priorities, setting your goals, and creating your mantra. But for now, let's talk about merging maps. So, it is okay. You don't have to want all the same things. You are different people. You're not the same. And there are going to be different things that interest you. Now, most couples, when they do this process, what they find is that almost everything that one of them wants, the other wants. It's just they seem more on different pages because you've been focusing on the things where you disagree and where you're having some conflict. But there's really a lot that you align about. You don't have those things just yet as much as you'd want, but you do both want those same things. But it's okay if you don't. We'll get to that in the next step. If there's something that is left on your individual list that didn't make it onto your shared list. So when you do this merging in the first pass that the 2 of you are doing, if you're doing this on your own, you do have the option, of course, of upgrading to having me do the writing for you, or all the way to the full limo ride where we do this in 4 sessions with you. But I love, love, love doing the wordsmithing. And so do many of the couples that are out there that have done this before. But sometimes it's confronting for people. So if it is, reach out for some support and see what we can figure out to work for you. Okay, so the first thing you do is just look at what's obvious. You're like, oh, yes, you want respectful, compassionate communication? I'll take a slice of that. That sounds great, please. The next pass, you can look at the things that weren't so obvious. So if you're going through on the first pass and you see one, you read it out loud, and your partner's like, I'm not so sure that on board for that as well, just skip it and go on to the next one, right? Now, after you've gone through all of the ones that are clear, then come back and see if there's any massaging or changing of some words that you can bring it together so that they can get onto the shared page. But any of the ones, that don't, that you just don't want it all from one person or the other, don't worry about it. You can leave those on the individual lists. So again, if you're experiencing, any triggers or you're struggling to really listen with an open heart, then consider getting some support and coaching there. There's a little URL there for you, forbetter.love/meet. Okay, so this is what it looks like to merge them. Now, if you have downloaded your version, there's two versions, is what I'm trying to say. One version is the printable one that has less coloring on it, and the other one is the one you can type in and it will auto-populate. If you're doing the one that you've downloaded and you're saved and you're going to enter information rather than print it and write it in, then this box would already be filled and this box would already be filled based on what you had filled in under beloved A and beloved B in steps 1 and 2. So now is the time to merge the two. And so you would take what was said here and what was said here and merge it right into the middle. So let's take a look at some examples. This is telling you, notice that you've got communication, sex and intimacy, finances and partnership and connection, health, spirituality and growth, lifestyle and flow of the day or year, relating with family, friends, and community, independence and interdependence, and of course, other, leaving it open for anything that I may have missed. So let's just take a look at a couple of examples here. So we had one person of this couple said, our body language is the same. We feel comforted, seen, and heard. We disagree with grace and understanding, trying always to see it from the other person's vantage point. And the other said, frequent check ins, safe space to express both desires, needs, and fears, work together to find common ground in disagreements. And what we came up with is we live by the platinum rule, not just the golden rule, the platinum rule. The golden rule is, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. And the platinum rule is more of do unto others as they would have you do unto them. It all goes to the idea of your love languages, right? You want to know what has you feel loved, what has your beloved feel loved, and then love them in that way. I digress though. So we live by the platinum rule and love in each other's love languages. We're courageously authentic, honest, free, and kind. We're intentional, respectful, understanding, and consistent. Sex and intimacy. We started with yes, please, romance, passion, exploration that continues to grow with time. And we're hot for each other and constantly show it to one another. From butt taps to kisses and other forms of affection, we are loving in public. We share how happy we are. This one says we're hot in the middle, the merging. We're hot for each other and are expressive about it. Our love, happiness, and attraction is obvious. We're romantic and passionate. We're sexy and playful with each other. We feel safe, loved, and adored. Now, I didn't coach them on writing these two, right? I did coach them on writing these. Over here, he has the word constantly. Now, constantly is one of those words we want to avoid. Always, everyone, constantly. Anything that is an exclusionary of other options is usually not very healthy when it comes to relationships. So just notice if you're using any words like that to avoid them whenever possible. Okay, so an example here with finances, we're comfortable, we are conscientious, we're generous. It's not a focal point of our lives. We are abundant and find it easy to save money and invest in the market, real estate, and other assets. Money is never a worry. It's fun, a fun toy to play with and check the balance of from time to time. So we created from those two, we're abundant, spend freely, save easily, and invest wisely. We're generous and freely contribute our time and money as we're inspired. We're conscientious, yet relaxed about our finances. We leave an intentional legacy for our kids. Partnership and connection. Let's do one more here. All right. So we have my wife is my closest confidant and partner in crime. Together we can overcome anything. We travel the world, even with kids. We value our playful connection and maintain a strong, adventurous spirit. The other beloved said, we're deeply connected to each other in all ways. We can trust one another completely about all of our feelings and wishes and hopes and dreams and desires. Merged, we are each other's closest confidants and favorite partner in crime. Our connection is so strong. Our love is resilient. We nurture our playful connection and cultivate an adventurous spirit. All right, so there are more areas. There are a total of 10, but just wanted to do those four there to give you some examples. Again, you may also use the Facebook group. If you're not able to do personalized coaching or to do the Course Plus, where I do the wordsmithing for you and the merging for you, then you may want to get some support. Maybe you do this with another couple. I've been in a couples program with another couple for 6 years now. The same couple, we've been meeting once a week for 30 minutes for 6 years, right? Just a nice little check in. So maybe you find another couple, maybe you do get some support from me, but do this process from a place of play and pleasure. If you're stuck, get some help. Okay, so after getting some help, or after merging your maps, now we want to get complete. So now is the time where you can look at your own individual vision and ask yourself, is there anything that didn't make it to the shared list that is a deal breaker? Or if you had everything that was on the shared list, would that be enough for you to be happy? So I have like this statement here, would I be happy if we had everything in our shared vision, but not the remaining ideals on our individual lists? See, this is a part of the process where you just make a declaration. I declare that this vision would fully satisfy me. Now, again, most couples end up with nothing or almost nothing on their individual list. It's okay if you don't get things merged and you have things on your individual list, but most commonly, people are more aligned than they think. Now, some common deal breakers are um, kids or no kids, open relationship or monogamous relationship, what state they're going to live in, sometimes religion. So there are a few deal breakers, but for the most part, that's not the case. So just make this declaration. Is that enough? Look at that vision. It might seem like that vision's far off and you don't know how you're going to get there. But if that was the reality, would that be enough? Get complete about that. Okay, so we're taking this step by step. And so far, you've created your individual vision. You have shared that vision, and now we're merging those visions and getting complete. Right. So this is what we covered today. We had 3 areas of some reminders, little first 10 minutes there, just using the opportunity for that repetition and reminder. Maybe hear something a little different, hearing it a second time, you get inspired to go check it out. Let me know what works for you. Let me know what of the resources and of the habits. Please do reach out and let me know. You can either comment on the social media page or email me at gabby@forbetter.love. I love hearing from you. Okay, so let's look at some of those next steps here. What are we going to do? Okay, well, I'd really encourage you to check those course on ramps, check in with your own declarations and outcomes. The resource reminder, if you haven't been to any of those things yet, go check them out. Go share what you're creating so far on the Facebook group. Your healthy habits, the gratitude grounding, and I didn't include it on the list here, but the inner magic joy cycle, you've got both of those available to you. And these other tips of check-ins, agenda check, and scoring your meetings, your sessions with your beloved. We looked at merging your maps and getting complete. So that's the action for you to take. Merge your maps. This is going to be a big one. How quickly can you do that? And of course, this is not set in stone. You'll want to revisit this, whether it's 3 months from now or on your anniversary or a year from now, to actually come back and say, hey, let's look at that vision and see if there's anything that we want to edit or change. Now, don't wait till you go to edit it to look at it. You want to be looking at it hopefully daily. We will set you up with, if you send it to us, we'll set you up with your, actually, I think you can do it yourself in your playbook with putting your vision into your playbook and then taking a screenshot of it and printing it out, putting it on your refrigerator. If you're in the full limo ride program, we turn it into a magnet for you and we'll send it to you. But there are lots of low cost or free ways to make sure that this process doesn't just end here, but it leaps out of your laptop and onto your refrigerator, your calendars, whatever it may be. All right, before I leave this session, I want to remind you about those prompts again. So take these prompts, print them, save them, bookmark them on your screens, on your home screen of your phone, have them available as part of your screensaver, but keep these concepts alive so that you are not having to work hard, but work smart. Remind yourself. Maybe you take just 5 minutes to set up those reminders, to set up those prompts, and then you get the benefit for weeks or even months, if it's even years, if it's a reminder that just goes on repeat and repeat and repeat. Okay, so next session, as I said, we will look at measuring your motivation, picking your priorities. So you're going to narrow these 10 areas down to your top three. And I'll talk to you about how to choose those. We're going to give you a formula for motivation. So, how can you tell if you really are going to take action or if this is just lip service that this is important to you? And if your motivation score comes out low, what we can do to increase it. And then in step 7, we'll start to look at setting goals. And the final session, we'll really dive in a second time for going into the goals and working on your mantra. All right. So again, I invite you, whether it's the Facebook group for this particular group, these are all of our general social medias, but wherever you're at, I want to be. So let me know how it's going. And I look forward to blowing wind in your sails so that you have the most playful, peaceful, passionate relationship possible. We call it the love trifecta, because if you have a lover, you have a sanctuary, and you have a playmate, then you've got it all in relationship. Now, this is the end of session 2, so be sure you go to the course session page and be sure to click the button, right? That says, hey, halfway there, end of session 2. We've got 2 more to go. So thanks again, and I look forward to seeing you for session 3. Good job leaning into loving better. It's an honor and a joy to contribute to you in any way whatsoever. So make this your own, use it and adapt it, and most of all, have some fun. Let me know how it goes. Bye.